Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trending, a show all about the diverse things that are happening right here in the city of West Hollywood. Today, we're going to be talking about weather, specifically El Niño. Like a lot of people, you're probably asking, what happened? Southern California has not been hit all that hard by that monster weather pattern that is churning out in the Pacific Ocean. A high-pressure system has pushed a lot of the rainfall to the north. But that doesn't mean we're out of the woods just yet. This season isn't over. Oh, and our drought? Yeah, that's not over either. For more on how to prepare in case the big rains do come, joining me right now is LA County Firefighter Humberto Agurcia. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having us here.
Appreciate it. So, this El Nino season, it really hasn't been too bad. In fact, February was absolutely gorgeous. So does that mean that residents can let down their guard? Can we just assume that the worst is over?
Not at all. In fact, this is a good time because El Nino is giving us a little more time to prepare. So just in case, we should all be prepared for something that could very, very much so come, which is very heavy rains, winds, etc. So it's a good idea to be prepared, not let our guard down yet.
That's right. We've got still March, April. We could possibly get rain in May even. So it feels like winter is over and spring is, but yeah, we're still in the middle of it.
Exactly, and we need to stay prepared.
So what does that mean? So what do residents need to do to keep their properties safe, to keep themselves safe? What are some of the basic things that you recommend to folks to make sure that they're ready when we get hit hard?
Yes, in case we have the expected rain, as we have been hearing for so many months.
Yeah.
In case we do have that rain, what we can do to prepare our homes, the Los Angeles County Fire Department, every fire station has been provided with sandbags.
Yes.
I understand here in the city of West Hollywood, they can get those pre-filled sandbags, and somebody will speak about that a little later. But as far as the fire department, we have sandbags available if you want to come and just grab what you need. The purpose of the sandbag is to create a sort of a dam that can protect your property and divert the water somewhere else to prevent a flooding. And of course, like I said, the rains are supposed to be very strong, a lot of water, so we're trying to prevent these floodings from occurring inside of your home. Also, things that we can do to prepare, if we know that the rain is coming, just clean up your backyards a little bit. All the toys, all the patio furniture, just try to put it in safe places. The trash cans get completely washed away. So a lot of just those things to preparing our homes.
And what about, do you recommend emergency supplies and that kind of thing to have them just in case?
That is important every day of the year.
Yeah.
Every day of the year,
Yeah.
we should always have flashlights with fresh batteries, fresh supply of water, a radio, very important. I mean, things that we don't think about, but a small little radio with batteries, maybe some canned food, things that we should always have at the home in case of any emergency.
Right, and you mentioned cleaning up your yard and debris, and that also includes gutters and drains and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Your rain gutters, very important to keep them cleaned because that's going to hold water up there and you don't want damage to your property.
So I'm sure many homeowners did a lot of this work in October, November, leading up to the El Nino, the arrival of El Nino, but that was months ago. So would you suggest that they go back and check it again? It's been a few months and maybe things aren't quite as ready as you had thought they were.
Absolutely. If you did it back then, well, that was good practice.
Yes.
Now let's do it again, just in case it does come. It's the weather patterns, and so it is expected.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen, great.
Yeah, no harm.
But we can use some rain.
That's right, absolutely. Hillside homes, we always know, are the most vulnerable. What can you do if you live up, and there's lots of homes in the area that are up against the hillsides. How do you know if you're in danger? What do you do? Are all homes up against a hillside potentially in trouble if the rains come?
Potentially, absolutely, because gravity is what creates the big problem. So we have the gravity coming up from the top of the hill. We have lots of debris. Especially if that area, let's say, had a fire recently, so you have all that ash, all of that dirt, that will turn into heavy mud flow coming down, and of course creating a problem. Down trees, lots of leaves, all of this just comes down with that gravity and creates a problem into those homes. This is a good time right now that is nice and dry to create a nice clean, that's what I would do if I lived right up to the hill. I would clear all that behind my house so that it doesn't come into my house.
That's right. That's great. What has the county done, and what are you doing to handle what could be a number of issues if we get these heavy rains, like flooding and mudslides, and where there's multiple people? Is it a constant process that you're constantly doing things? Do you feel like everything's already in place? What happens, and how do you prepare for something like this?
The County of Los Angeles Fire Department, we train daily in any possible type of situation. We try to be prepared and train our firefighters to be ready for any emergency. The things that we do when we do have weather events or basically any type of event, we bring in a lot of our off-duty firefighters. We create extra engine companies, and we have them ready so that an already busy call volume, we can still manage the regular day and the added with the weather or. So we have the manning, we have the training, and we have the equipment to be able to manage and mitigate any emergency. So I would love to have your residents be assured that their fire department's going to be there, ready to work.
Jump in there. And, you know, if we're getting hit with heavy rains, they're not going to be putting out as many fires. They're going to be, you know, bailing people out of rivers and out of floods and that kind of deal.
And that's the part where they really need to help us as well. Don't go play in those areas where there's water. Flood control channels, not a good time. In fact, at no time is a good time to go play in a flood control channel, but of course, especially during the rains. Just because it's not raining here doesn't mean that it's not raining at the top of the mountain.
That's right.
And that water just comes, that's why it's called a flash flood. It could be dry right now, and all of a sudden here comes a body of water. And that is extremely dangerous. So let's not play around any sort of body of water during, especially since we're talking about El Niño, during those rains.
That's right. So let's say that we do get this rain, that El Niño attacks, and we find ourselves in the middle of a bit of an emergency. What do you suggest? What are homeowners to do? Is their first thing is to call you guys? How do you keep from panicking?
Well, I think that's very important. We should always try to remain calm. But absolutely, if you find yourself in the middle of an emergency, even if we show up and discover that it's not an emergency, dial 911. We will be there, and we will help. But so if you find yourself in need and you feel you have an emergency, immediately call 911 and try to make it as safe as you can for yourself.
If the mud's coming down the hill into the back of my house, I'd call you guys. Absolutely. Yeah, even though you're not putting out a fire, you're dealing with that kind of emergency situation.
Yes, we will deal with it. In those situations, we will be working with Public Works closely and to see what the emergency is and try to mitigate it.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, Firefighter Humberto Agurcia with the LA County Fire Department, thank you so much for joining us. Great information. Great to talk to you. Appreciate having you here.
It is our pleasure to be here.
Very good. Thank you. Well, up next, the city of West Hollywood is prepared to take on El Niño. We'll give you all the details in just a minute.
Hey there, fellow Californians. I know you're staying golden by managing your energy use, which means managing water, too. Especially during a drought. So install low-flow shower heads or a faucet aerator. To find rebates and more ways to manage water, visit energyupgradeca.org. I'm picking up my latest upgrade with a forklift. Stay golden, California! Learn to save water and money at energyupgradeca.org.
No one knows how long it will last.
I was sworn to protect the realms of men, but who will save us when the water runs out?
Welcome back to Trending, everyone. El Nino has been kind to Southern California and the city of West Hollywood so far, but we can't let down our guard, not just yet. To talk about what the city of West Hollywood is doing and has done to be safe and prepare the residents from any kind of major El Nino storm. Joining me right now is Sharon Perlstein. She is the West Hollywood City Engineer, and Kevin Trudeau. He's the Facilities and Maintenance Superintendent for the City of West Hollywood. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
You're welcome. When it rains really hard all over LA County, we have seen flooding. We've seen water right up to the car door handles in certain parts of LA County. From an engineering perspective, is West Hollywood ready and designed to prevent that kind of major flooding that we've seen in other parts of LA County?
Well, West Hollywood doesn't see that kind of flooding, and it's really for two reasons. One is that we're at the base of the hills, and so there's a lot of sloping streets. So we have pretty good gravity flow. Water flows away in the gutters by and large. And then also, over the last 20 years, the County of Los Angeles has constructed some very extensive flood control facilities that have served the West Hollywood and surrounding areas. And those storm drain systems have provided a lot better flood protection in our area.
So they do the job that we count on to allow all this water to go somewhere and not back up on our streets.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good to know. So residents in West Hollywood are not required to have flood insurance. The city did away with that requirement. I guess it means, though, that the city leaders are pretty confident that we're not going to get situations like that. And you're pretty confident yourself.
Well, yes, and it's not just our city leaders. It's flood insurance is mandated by FEMA, which is a federal agency.
Sure.
And when the County of Los Angeles completed their last big storm drain project, that was around 2008.
Okay.
That storm drain project relieved flood hazards in the West Hollywood West area. And we had about 400 property owners that previously were required to have flood insurance. It was a mandate for them to hold mortgages on their properties. And after 2008, that was no longer a federal requirement.
Very interesting. What exactly was done in 2008 that made it a safer place to live?
Well, the county had finished a regional storm drain project called the Holly Hills Storm Drain.
Okay.
It was a multi-million-dollar storm drain, and folks that were here back in the 1990s and early 2000s would remember all the trenching that went on. There was a big storm drain that went all the way up San Vicente Boulevard, it went into Santa Monica Boulevard.
That's what they were doing on San Vicente.
And it was also all the way up to north of Sunset. And when they completed that project, FEMA was able to remap the flood hazards for the area.
Terrific.
And so the storm drain could accommodate the 100-year flood.
Wow.
And so those properties were then relieved of their flood hazard.
Yeah, that is terrific. Is the city then, since 2008, pretty much satisfied, or are there constant improvements and work that's being done?
Well, there's just more or less smaller types of flooding issues that we work with. We have places where it's nothing like where it's overtopping curbs and going into yards.
Yeah.
But as we do our street improvement projects, we try to rehab gutters and improve the flow on streets. A lot of it we have also is where there's nuisance water that puddles and things like that. So, on an ongoing basis, as we build street repair projects, we look at drainage and we make improvements where we can.
So you hear talk, and we heard from the firefighter earlier that it's important to clean your gutters and clean out storm drains, and so seems to be a problem is when those storm drains get clogged. And so what does the city of West Hollywood do to make sure that these big flood basins aren't getting clogged up right at the at the drain?
Well, we have an ongoing program, and it's not just this year with the El Nino, that 4 times a year a contractor comes into the city and cleans the catch basin inlets. Those are the openings in the curb on the street where stormwater would flow into the underground pipes. And those are basically cleaned 4 times a year. 3 of them are during the wet season and 1 time during the summer.
Oh, that's great.
And that's to remove
Debris
litter,
and-
debris, and leaves and things like that.
Yeah.
And so those cleanings are done, as well as the fact that the city has put in what we call debris screens, which are a a device
Exactly
that
what it sounds like.
It blocks
Yeah.
the ability of these larger items, even
Right.
like a paper cup or a newspaper, to get into the storm drain and
Right.
block the flow.
Right.
And so then with our routine maintenance, those are kept clear.
Yeah. Did you have to do anything special knowing that El Nino was coming up?
You know, we really didn't do anything in major particular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this ongoing program that we have, and I think
Right.
Kevin has some further information about what his crews do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Good segue. Thank you, Sharon. So, Kevin Trudeau, you are the maintenance and facilities and maintenance superintendent. That's a big job because there's a lot to look after in the city of West Hollywood. What exactly are you doing with El Nino in mind to make sure that the city is safe?
Well, you're right. There is a lot to do. And as Sharon kind of touched on, the city's taking El Nino very seriously. It's definitely something to be considered and something that we think about and plan for. But to be honest, we're not doing anything special. What we're doing now is something we do every year.
Yeah.
You know, one of my main responsibilities is caring for the city-owned facilities. We're, like I say, we're doing doing this year what we've done every year.
Sure.
We do annual roof inspections. We do annual roof repairs and maintenance. Throughout the parks, we go through and check and clean all of the catch basins throughout the park.
How
park
often do you
drains.
do that? Is that a regular thing? I mean, scheduled?
The roof maintenance is an annual
All of that,
thing, and then the ongoing park maintenance, that's actually weekly, monthly,
Wow.
daily. It's just
Sure.
checking and inspecting the drains is more of an annual thing.
Sure.
But we do have landscape crews in the parks every day, and they check those sites and they clean them as needed. You know, Sharon touched on the screens in front of the catch basins. We actually have a weekly program that we do every week. Wow. You know, 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, whether you need it or not.
Whether we need it or not, we
Yeah.
go through and we physically clean the debris in front of those catch basins.
And that's so important because that's where you can have the problems, right?
Yeah.
If it stops there, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and another thing I think the city's really good about is we have a very active street sweeping program. You know, people wonder why we sweep. Well, we sweep. That also helps removing that debris from the street that would eventually end up into a storm drain and clog it up and create problems down the line.
Sure.
So I think the city's very proud of what we do as far as our routine street sweeping. I think we have a very aggressive street tree trimming program that leads to that, because if you don't trim your trees, that debris falls onto the ground.
Right.
If you don't maintain your trees, the branches could fall in
Yeah.
the rain and wind. Again, so as maintenance, we're very proud of what we do on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, as long as you stay on top of it,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't get away from you,
Yeah.
and we can be safe. So we heard from the firefighter that the fire stations, and we've heard about this for years, that they provide sandbags, but they don't provide the sand, which can be a little tricky. You got to fill those up. However, the city of West Hollywood does have an opportunity for residents to get sandbags.
That's correct. The city obviously takes this very serious. They take the constituency very serious, and we do everything we can to protect the constituency. So as a proactive measure, the city has gone out and purchased pre-filled sandbags, and we have them stored here at the city's maintenance facility, and they're available to city residents upon request. Anytime they need them, they just come down. We have specific hours. Monday through Friday, they can come in between 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. or in the afternoon from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. to the city's maintenance facility.
Right.
And we will help them load them in their car. They just have to establish that they're a city resident.
Sure.
And they can get up to 10 sandbags at a time.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier, not having to go out to the beach and fill up your sandbags.
Correct,
So
yeah.
That's terrific. You know, the concern, of course, we don't want our businesses in West Hollywood to suffer any kind of flooding. We want to keep them in business. So what can you tell local businesses? What is it that they need to do or should be doing all the time to keep themselves safe?
Well, you know, an important thing for a business property owner, because a lot of them have flat roofs, is to make sure that the drains for their roofs are kept clean.
Yeah.
You know, they may have plants or trees on their property, which the city doesn't maintain for them. And if there's leaves and such on their roof and then it flows down and blocks a drain, they may have then water accumulating on a roof, or they may have a situation where the drains plug and it can back up into their property.
You hear occasionally about roof collapses because water has sat on it for so long that it just broke through. You don't want that to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's good advice. So, so we get prepared, we're ready, and then the rains come. What do you advise people to do when it's really coming down, besides stay inside? That's the easy one.
Well, you need to drive slower.
Yeah.
And that's a safety issue because the streets, though we keep them clean and all, and there can be a lot of water in the road. And in a situation where it hasn't rained now for a few weeks, there's also oil that accumulates on the roads and it can be slippery. So trying to control how fast you're driving is an important thing. And, it's just a matter also of being careful. If you're going to be walking and crossing streets, look in the gutter. If there's a lot of water flowing, be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. People think even in their cars that they can get through, even if it's not fast-moving water, but it's deep. Oh, I can go right through it, and then they end up in a lot of trouble.
I think Sharon touched on it too. Is slowing down is important. I'm here early in the morning every day, and Santa Monica Boulevard, Sunset, some of those roadways, people travel fairly quickly on those, and I think speed always contributes to those type of hazards and accidents.
Absolutely. So we were all crossing our fingers that El Niño would just absolutely hit hard, so we could say that the drought is over. Even if we get rain in March this month and perhaps next month, chances are the drought will not be behind us. So residents still need to conserve.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. And what about for facilities in terms of landscaping? I notice you have signs up that say you're not watering, right?
Yeah, we're continuing with all the measures that we put in place last summer to be in line with the state, the governor's mandates for water conservation. I think that we're going further than that. We're looking internally at some of our irrigation systems and our facility fixtures and things like that. So we're continuing with all those steps. We haven't stopped any of that.
Yeah, definitely. And for homeowners, just because it's been raining doesn't mean that you can then set your sprinklers to run all the time. Hasn't changed a bit.
No.
We can wish and pray and cross our fingers, but it's not necessarily going to happen. All right. Well, Sharon Perlstein, city engineer, City of West Hollywood, and Kevin Trudeau, superintendent of facility and landscape maintenance for the City of West Hollywood. Thank you both for joining us here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great information. Let's hope, gosh, do we want to stay dry or not?
We want some rain, but we want it scattered out a little bit, not all at once.
That's right. Very good. All right, well, we can cross our fingers. Thank you both so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that is it for Trending for today. If you have a comment or if you'd like more information or if you have an idea for a trending topic, just leave a message at WehoTV on Facebook or Twitter. You can also email us. Just remember to put #trending in the subject line and we'll get right back to you. I'm Tracy Savage. Stay dry.